It's Sunday, the 19th of July, 2015, 10 p.m, Bolton Town Centre. The Town Hall clock chimes. Bonnie Tyler Hero blasting out over the PA system, and I'm running down the hill with 400 metres to go. Hello and welcome to the Fatman to Ironman Coach Marshy Running Podcast. I am Coach Marshy, Neil Marsh, and before we get started, I'd just like to add a little disclaimer to this podcast to say that I do hold a sport and exercise science degree, and I am a fully qualified personal trainer and GP exercise referral specialist. So please know that everything given across in this podcast is coming from a place of research. So welcome to today's episode. How are we all? Have we had a good week? Has it been good for you? For me personally, it's been a little bit mad. I, unfortunately, for the last couple of weeks, have been struggling with a little bit of a niggle in and around my ankle joint. So the training has sort of had to be adapted around that. But otherwise, I've been really good and everything is going well. So where were we? I was running down the hill with 400 meters to go, Bolton Town Centre, 10 p.m. And there it was, my sister. She was there on the side of the barrier, and we were at Ironman UK 2015. And I was running down the hill, and all I heard was, "Go on, Marshy." And it was my sister standing there. And as I approached her, she started to run. And what was great about that was, little does my sister maybe know, she had a very inspiring football career within the ladies' game, which inspired all of our family. And it was just great to have her right there with 400 meters to go. Someone who had taken their sport so seriously and worked so hard to get to where she wanted to be. To have her there with me was an awesome feeling. And she just started trotting alongside me, the other side of the barrier. And at 10 p.m, when Ironman's been going all day, you can imagine the town centre just obviously dispersed as time went on. And by that famous finish line that anyone knows the Ironman brand by, the red carpet, obviously it was still very busy, and the little grandstands that they put up for the event, they were still busy. But actually a little way out from there, the streets had sort of dispersed, so she could run alongside me. And it was absolutely amazing to go through that moment with her. And she managed to get back to the family, who were actually found a place on the finish line at that point, and see me come down that red carpet as well, which was an awesome experience for me to share with her and my family. So there I was at finish line, and they call it the Heroes Hour at 10 p.m, hence the Bonnie Tyler soundtrack that I could hear as I came down the hill just as the clock struck 10. And I go through the finish line, and what was great is that Lucy Gossage, the elite female triathlete who had won the event that day, had come back for Heroes Hour to present medals to people that were finishing at that time. And Lucy gave me my medal, which was fantastic, because she had been using the sports centre that I had only just left a few years before. She'd been using the sports centre, and I got to know her through the triathlon club that trained there in Cambridge. So it was really nice to receive my medal from Lucy and actually have a little bit of a conversation with someone who was right at the top of her sport. So for me, it was that moment where I was at a point in that journey that I set out for in 2009 to reach this ultimate goal, where I wanted to do a marathon, I wanted to do an Ironman. And this moment was really becoming a reality. And I had completed the Ironman, and I just realized I'd made it something that was so far away from me once upon a time in 2009. And I'd made it. I'd made it to that finish line for me, and I'd achieved it. So for me, just to reintroduce the podcast and what we're all about and what this is going to be all about, is this is very much a podcast that is going to be to pay it forward. If I can help one person then that's fantastic. If this can be a platform for people to learn on, fantastic. If people just want to know my story and use that for their own training or just as something to help them, that's great as well. But for me, what I want is I don't want anyone to ever be where I was at the start of my journey and to have to feel like that they'd fallen so far in sport that they couldn't achieve their goal and what they wanted to achieve. So for me, I would like to think that everyone can change their situation. And if this paying it forward can work for you, great. If it's just something you want for a little bit of entertainment as well, of course, we can provide that as well. So just to reintroduce who I am Coach Marshy, and I've worked in the sports and fitness industry basically pretty much my whole career, even as a part-time sports retailer. However, in terms of the fitness industry itself, I first started working in the fitness industry in 2007 and then also worked in it during and alongside my degree as well as a fitness instructor in various health clubs and various types of gyms. However, I kind of was searching for something that was more about people than it was about money and direct debit runs from big managers that sit in offices and don't know anything about the industry. So for me, it was very much about people and their goals and relationships with those people to develop and to get their goals. So for me, it was very simple what I had to do. I had to stand on my own 2 feet. And I created a boot camp. Back in 2014, I decided it was time. I've kind of been 7 years in the industry, done my degree in sport and exercise science, and I just really wanted to help people. So I developed a boot camp 2014, which then actually developed over and as the years went on into a fitness unit facility in 2015. And I actually signed the contract for my lease on the building about 4 days after Ironman, which was an absolutely amazing moment as well, and a great achievement. So it was kind of a big week, and that facility grew to a now bigger unit, which is 4 times the size of the original unit, and that was back in 2018. And what we do is we work on functional fitness sessions where we look to improve people's strength, improve their running, and to increase their weight loss goals so that they can reach their target. Also in 2014, I founded a running club in Histon and Impington, which is just north of Cambridge. And it was somewhere that I felt lacked that kind of running community for everyone. And I wanted to create a running club that had an ethos that was about people. And it wasn't about how fast you could go. It wasn't about what level you're at. It was all about people running, like-minded people. And that was back in 2014 as well. So the business and the voluntary running club that I set up sort of came hand in hand together in 2014. And that running club has now been adapted and grown to be known as High Runners. So abbreviation of the original name. But it just reflects how the club has grown into a running club that kind of serves North Cambridge now with 3 sessions each week and very much spread across 4 or 5 villages across the north of Cambridge. So for me, it was all about people and it was all about relationships. And that's my story within the industry very briefly, and a bit of an introduction as to who I am, with a little bit about my Ironman experience back in 2015 as well. So obviously the Ironman was the ultimate goal at the time, and I felt like I'd reached that level. So for me, what this is about is I'm excited to share with you all the things that I've learned over the years to try and help you avoid those mistakes, potentially put in place a few ideas for you, help you, give you what it is that you need to reach your running goals and targets, and anything that I've learned that could adjust that, because the qualifications are great. They really help. Science, physiology, brilliant. But actually that experience as well, there's so many things that I wish I knew back then, that if I knew from what I know now, if I'd have known back then, on all of the things that I'm up to, would have very much been something that I would love to know, or would have loved to have known at the time. So where am I at now? What do I do? Well, there's been various challenges, and mainly all based on running. And I'm looking forward to telling you all about them, so that those mistakes, those little learns, those things that we get from each of these experiences, I can pay that forward to you and make a real difference to your training, hopefully. So currently there is a challenge, and currently I am looking for the longest run streak that I've ever actually had. So that challenge is to run for 402 days straight. The reason it's 402 days is because I didn't realize at the beginning of the year that it was a leap year. So I was actually going for 401 days because I'd previously ran 400 days, but it's going to be 402 because I would like to run every day during 2020 as well. So it's a challenge within a challenge. And there's very much been a challenge so far this year within that challenge back in June, which I will share with you at a later date when we talk about more specifically ultra marathon running. So what I'm going to do each week is I'm going to give you an update on where I'm at in my journey, because the journey very much still continues, and it's not about me. This podcast is very much about you guys and trying to pay forward what it is I've learned to try and make a real difference to others out there. So what I would say is this episode, I just want you to know one thing. If you are thinking that you can't do something, especially in terms of running, I want you to reconsider that. If I can go on this journey, then I know you can as well. You can very much go on this journey. And I want you to know that. Let me tell you about how I did it and how I did it. Not just about the journey, but how I did that journey and how you can apply it to real life situations. And for me, something for you to take home right now is it's all about application and your thought process as well. The way you think, the way you see things, the way you apply those things is very much going to make a huge difference to the outcome of that goal, just like it did me. So for me, you just need to be positive, but that's simply said. There's a lot more to that, and hopefully we can touch on that in the future episodes. So from my Ironman journey, I will touch on the process that built up to that, the same with running and any distance goals that I had. And I'm going to take you through all of those things in the up and coming episodes, just so that you can see if there's anything that you want to take from that for yourself. So what I'd like to do is, again, welcome you to the Fatman to Ironman Coach Marshy Running Podcast. And if you've enjoyed this so far, or you think you're going to enjoy the future episodes, I would very much love you to head over to my YouTube channel, because there's lots of running tips on there on the kind of how-to advice in your own training and how you can learn about my journey and other things, foam rolling, mobility exercises, strength and conditioning for runners. Very much those videos are there for you to use, and I'd love you to use them. Absolutely free content. Love you to use them, because for me, these are the types of things that I was missing during this process, that if I'd had, it would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of literal pain as well. But also, hopefully, if you don't know how to foam roll, it could give you that kind of education, for example, on how to do that. So do head over to that YouTube channel. And also, please don't forget to give this podcast a little review. And if also you could rate the podcast on whichever platform it is that you are listening or watching, that would be really good. And just share it with anyone who you think might like it or like the future episodes, because it would be great to get a little community together and to learn what it is you're doing, what your goals are, what you want to achieve, what it is you're passionate about when it comes to running. And if there is that ultimate goal that you're on, that journey you're on and you're looking for, and maybe it seems a long way away right now, I'd love to know what that is, guys. It would be absolutely brilliant to understand what it is you are looking for. So, in closing, I very much hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I really hope we can meet here again next week and discuss a little bit more on the Fatman to Ironman Coach Marshy Running Podcast. Take care, guys, and whatever you do, don't forget to say boom.